World Cup qualifying time once again here on Screen Sport. Welcome to the Monumental del Barcelona here in Guayaquil in Ecuador. The magnificent stadium, home to one of Ecuador's leading league sides. Yes, there are other Barcelonas in the world of soccer, and Barcelona in Guayaquil are one of the leading lights here in the Ecuadorian domestic scene. The sides taking the field here then this afternoon. It's Colombia ahead from the first leg, leading by 2-0. They head the group here in Group 2. Remember this, the one South American qualifying group where the winners do not automatically receive a passage to Italy next summer for the World Cup. The leading side in Group 2 will have to face a playoff against Israel to secure that berth. Now the Ecuador side this afternoon here in Guayaquil. In goal is the extravagant goalkeeper Morales, 50 caps for his country. At number 2 is Izquierdo, the local matador from Barcelona, so he'll have plenty of support in the stadium. Moving on quickly, the Colombian side, in fact, we'll go back to that Ecuador lineup. Higuita in goal for Colombia. He's the character who gave away the penalty which saw Paraguay winning 2-1 in our last game in this group, rather spoiling his 23rd birthday. Perez at fullback, Escobar and Perea shore up the middle. Hoyos is on the left side at the back. Perez, the ball winner in midfield. Gomez is in for the suspended Alvarez, sent off, of course, against Paraguay. Fallardo replacing Redin, a very important change in the starting lineup for Colombia there. Redin is injured. Valderrama, the South American Ruud Gullit. Iguaran, the hero from the first game between these two sides, and Hernandez. So Colombia showing 3 changes to the side who went down 2-1 to Paraguay in controversial circumstances last week. Continuing then with that Ecuador side, in goal Morales, at 2 Izquierdo, at 3 it's Quinones, at number 18 Mera in the back 4. Capurro will play alongside him. Just to confuse matters, Ecuador have a Fallardo of their own at number 5. Rosero is the highly rated newcomer who's been brought into this Ecuador side. In midfield, Aguenaga, the star of the future, they say, here in Ecuador. Cuvi is at 10, and up front, Aviles, top scorer in the National League last season, at number 14. And Quintero completes the lineup here for Ecuador. We get underway then in the first half. In Guayaquil, it's mercifully not as hot as it has been here lately in South America. The pitch well grassed as we get underway in the first half. And Colombia will be happy to slow things down right from the beginning, keep possession, knowing that 2 points here would really put them well on the way to Italy next summer after that 2-0 win in the first meeting between these two sides. And the home fans in fine voice here in Guayaquil. Ecuador perhaps not one of the major forces as yet in South American soccer, but now the home fans would dearly love to see their team beat Colombia here this afternoon. Must say, one of the better pitches we've seen so far in our coverage of all these South American qualifying games. And there's plenty of movement inside the first couple of minutes here. The linesman is flagging. Surely that's offside. Yes, it is. The whistle taking a long time to pierce the noise here in this Guayaquil stadium. It really is a cauldron of noise here in the Monumental de Barcelona. And the referee's whistle drowned out by the fans. That is Valderrama. Colombia, of course, in the change strip this afternoon, playing in the red shirts and the blue shorts. Free kick then to Ecuador. Interestingly enough, Ecuador's record against Colombia over the years is a good one. Although Colombia may have started as favourites on paper. They've played 18 times since the war, these two sides. And currently Ecuador leading. They've won 8 to Colombia's 5 victories. And here come Ecuador again, building up on the left. That's a good ball. Looking for the target man. He's appealing for a foul. The referee has awarded the free kick. And a little indistinct in his indications as to just which side he's awarding the free kick to. The Ecuadorians are convinced it's their free kick. For a foul on the number 9, Quintero. And not to be. So Colombia allowed to bring it away into the Ecuador half. Battling for the ball, Colombia on this near side. And they've conceded the free kick. Last time these two sides met, it was in fact outside of this competition, of course, here in Guayaquil in 1987. And perhaps it's an omen for this game, because Ecuador were the winners on that occasion by 3-0. Now space on the far side. Colombia, this was of course the flank in which they broke late in the game to secure that equaliser against Paraguay, where they thought they'd done enough to win a point. Higuaín turning in the shot from the near post with a superb piece of individual skill. And then of course allowing Paraguay to come back, conceding the last-minute penalty, which caused such scenes of confusion when we had the national militia on the field. Not for the first time in these South American qualifying groups. Just listen to the Ecuadorian crowd here getting behind their side. Free kick played in from the far side and just over the bar, the first real chance of the game. Falling to the Ecuadorians, and that's given hard to the home fans here. South American football with its passion and drama, as only the Latin fans can give it. And the header, which the Colombian goalkeeper Higuita happy to see drift over the bar. In midfield, here's Valderrama, the blonde-haired Colombian maestro who came to prominence in the 1987 Copa America, and of course the South American Footballer of the Year just a couple of years ago. This, the long-haired figure of the Ecuador keeper Morales, Carlos Luis Morales. Now well on the way to becoming one of the most capped players in Ecuadorian history. That's a good ball by Ecuador there, having the better of these opening exchanges in the first half. Their captain, Cuvi. Once again, the long ball looking for Aviles. Emelec, the league champions, he was their top scorer last season as they won the title. Got some defending to do here. The ball squared, and surely this will be a chance, and it's over the bar with the keeper out of position, and Colombia just showing how dangerous they can be on the break. And once again, it's down that left flank where the Colombians are at their most dangerous. Keeper pulled out of position, the ball squared across the box as Ecuador funneled back, and the chance wastefully over the bar. So we've had a lively opening here in the first half. That'll be a foul, surely. Yes, the number 11 for Ecuador. Free kick then from the left. Colombia, the tall man at the back for them is Perea, the coloured stopper. And his header it was, clearing the lines, the shot coming in. No danger to Colombian keeper Higuita. Higuita, the keeper for league champions Nacional Medellin in Colombia. Certainly these South American nations do seem to breed colourful characters in goal. They say in football you have to be mad to be a goalkeeper. Some of these South American keepers really are a little bit loco at times. Higuita, I'm sure, has had all week to reflect on that rash challenge which resulted in the Paraguayan penalty a week ago in this group, when Colombia seemed to have stolen a point and then throwing it all away right at the end, which of course led to all manner of tumult on the pitch with the National Guard. I wasn't quite sure at the time if they were protecting the Colombian players, the referee, or just what in fact was happening at the end of that game. Paraguay beating Colombia by 2-1, and that could be a very significant result, because Colombia will not want to see any more points dropped here in Guayaquil. Quintero seeing plenty of the ball in the first half, and the Ecuadorians looking very comfortable on the ball in midfield. It's a good pass here to the left wing. Aguinaga, of course, being sought out. Very much the fulcrum around which much of the Ecuadorian approach play will feature. And Colombia will be happy if they can keep Aguinaga out there on the flanks where he can do less damage. Long throw coming in, the keeper safely under no pressure makes the grab. Early ball released for Colombia to build from the back. Valderrama's dropped deep, very much allowed to roam at will by the Colombian coach, Pancho Maturana. Both these sides have never qualified for the World Cup. Perhaps the closest Colombia coming was when they offered to stage the '86 World Cup finals, which would of course have allowed them automatic entry as the host nation, but due to a variety of economic factors, then declining to be the host nation in '86, where the finals eventually of course were switched to Mexico. Valderrama concedes a throw-in on the far side. The home fans here still making plenty of noise all around us, but as you can see from our pictures, the sun here has mercifully gone in. It's an overcast day here in Guayaquil. And at times here in the first half, the keeper out as the lateral ball just a little too far forward of the Ecuadorian forwards. Valderrama skips a tackle. And I was about to say that it's almost a European style of game we're seeing. Mercifully few fouls, which is very much the bane of South American soccer. The game being allowed to flow by the referee, and both sides showing a willingness to get on with things. And they're keeping it going. Well, just one header for Ecuador, which drifted harmlessly over the bar inside the first 15 minutes, and one real chance for Colombia, breaking down the left, where the keeper was out, missed it and squared
chance to be blasted over the bar. There's a perfect example of Higuita prepared to do the unorthodox, dribbling the ball out of his own box before releasing the long clearance. This time Ecuador are not going to allow him to do the same. This is Pereira. And this time Morales not afraid to show his footballing skills outside of the penalty area as well. Colombia now having 2 bites at clearing their lines. This is Valderrama. Be interesting to see this afternoon how much he misses the influence of Reddin alongside him. Now this is where Colombia can be dangerous. On the far side, it's where their first break of the afternoon came. This time the move breaks down. Quintero likewise can't find a way through, so Ecuador once again building from the back. Quiñones through to midfield. Aguinaga drop deep. And really everything for Colombia is being played down the left here in the opening stages. Got men forward here, and the ball won't reach Valderrama. They've got it back quickly, however, and that's a corner. Quiñones it was, conceding the corner after Ecuador really should have cleared their lines earlier. That's a poor one, but Colombia have got plenty of men forward here, but aimlessly giving the ball away. So it's Ecuador carrying the ball forward into the Colombian half. On the far side, Valderrama picks up the pieces. Lazy running style he's got, but a player, perhaps the orchestrator of this Colombian side, one of the few players, of course, with real vision, playing his football in the first division in France with Montpellier. If he has a habit, it's that he likes to go perhaps too deep and run the whole show, whereas Colombia really do need his skills in and around the opposing penalty area. Free kick. There have been very few of those inside this first 20 minutes or so. Remains goalless here in Guayaquil. Ecuador 0, Colombia 0. Group 2 World Cup qualifier. Colombia, of course, having played a game more than the other 2 sides, currently leading the table, but early days yet in this group. This time there's no way through for Hernandez. Came off the bench against Paraguay and today allowed to start the game. 3 changes to the Colombian team who went down 2-1 to Paraguay. Alvarez, we've already mentioned, he's suspended, having been sent off against Paraguay. Reddin is injured and Hernandez today starting the full 90 minutes, but it remains to be seen, of course, if he lasts the 90 minutes. Ecuador now the long shot, and that's well wide. May have been meant as a pass. Higuita won't mind that. Jose Higuita then. The long-haired Colombian keeper gets things underway once again. And you get the feeling now that Colombia have contained Ecuador's early fire. Well, I was about to say they've contained it. That's a great save by Higuita. Just fingertips the ball around the post for a corner, and that really was the closest we've come to a goal in this first half. Needless to say, of course, the shot comes in from Aguinaga, and in fact it wouldn't have counted. There must have been an offside against Ecuador, because Higuita clearly got fingertips to that one to put it round the post. But that gives the Ecuadorians hope. And it's not surprising that we can't hear the whistle up here in our camera position, because the fans are making a tremendous amount of noise here in the stadium. It doesn't matter where you go to follow football in South America. Once again, some of the Ecuadorian players stopped there for a second. There are probably more whistles here in the crowd. As many whistles as there are spectators. But the one that mattered wasn't coming in from the referee. The move comes to nothing, and Ecuador look to build on the far side. Cross from the fullback. Izquierdo is not a good one. And this time we do hear the blast of the referee's whistle. And that's a free kick to Ecuador. I was about to say that irrespective of where one travels in this continent, Costa Rica, Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, of course, the major forces in South American soccer, but also some of the smaller countries, Bolivia, Honduras, Panama, they all love their soccer. And the Latin temperament always ensures a colourful scene in the stadium, things boiling over, as we know only too well, on and off the pitch at times. But all going towards making up the rich tapestry that is soccer South American style. And once again, the Ecuadorian fans on their toes, hearts in their mouth, every time their local heroes get within shooting distance of Higuita's goal. But the Colombians, up until that last break, of course, of Aguinaga's, had contained the early fire from Ecuador, and playing on the break, looking quite capable themselves of striking with deadly effect and finding a goal. And an away goal here could be so crucial to their chances of qualifying for the World Cup finals. That should be, well, Higuita deciding to go for the punch, and if you do punch, make sure it's a good one. That one was, with two fists, getting the ball 25 yards to safety. This time, a late challenge from the Colombian number 4, Wilson Perez. Ecuador then lining up the free kick. Quiñones has gone forward from the back. Plenty of men here in the Colombian penalty area. It won't break for Aguinaga. Now time to measure the cross. And that's cleared by Perez. Only as far as Izquierdo. Whistle's gone. Ecuadorian football under the directorship of their Yugoslavian coach Dusan Draskovic. He's the first ever foreigner to be given charge of the national side, and Draskovic, a player himself in the Yugoslavian First Division before injury-forced early retirement. Well, he's really building for the future. He has quite sensibly said that the state of football at grassroots level in Ecuador as the cross comes in. It's easily cut out at the back by Mera and Capurro so far, looking solid in the centre of the Ecuadorian defence. Just once were they caught out by the Colombian counter-attack. But he's building for the future. Ecuadorian soccer really being built up from the grassroots level, and as Colombia themselves realised 10 or 15 years ago, things have to be built up from scratch. Now the Ecuadorians may get a shooting chance here in the penalty area. The ball just taken away at the last minute. It's good defending by Wilson Perez. And he denying Rosero the chance of getting a shot in at Higuita. Colombia at times just living a little dangerously at the back. But they've really revitalised their soccer over the last 10 to 15 years. And they're producing a side who are at times as good as anybody in South America, and they can surprise the big boys on their day. They've got a couple of world-class players, of course, in Valderrama and the now aging Iguaran, perhaps. And Ecuador themselves have talent coming through from the youth structure and the strengthening to the national side, which may well see them, if not in these World Cup qualifying rounds, progressing to the final stages, but perhaps in 4 or 8 years' time. 1 or 2 of their players will be leaving the country after these qualifying games to pursue their careers in pastures new. Certainly we'll be hearing a lot more, I think, of their 21-year-old striker, Aguinaga. That's a fine ball now for Ecuador. They're forced to just slightly backpedal. For them, on this left side, Aguinaga does seem to be the one Ecuadorian who has the key, perhaps, to unlock this Colombian rearguard. Well, the flag staying down on the far side. As Colombia pushed up, they were suddenly caught horribly square there for a second. And just the final pass at the moment for Ecuador is letting them down. Valderrama's dropped deep. Ecuador enjoying a good spell here. The score remains, however, in this Group 2 qualifier from Guayaquil. Ecuador 0, Colombia 0. Valderrama's found a little space in midfield, wants the ball to feet, likes to bring it forward, and crowded out by 3 Ecuadorian defenders, one of whom, Mera, produces the trip, and that's a free kick. Gomez it is then to play one up to the Ecuadorian penalty area. In fact, Gomez leaving it, and the long shot coming in. That's a great save by the keeper, Morales. That one was creeping in under the crossbar. Morales then just tipping it over the bar. And that fooled this commentator, and I think most of the Ecuadorian defence as well, because Gomez it was who lined it up. And Perez from fully 35 yards. With a blinding right footer that Morales tips over the bar. The corner produces nothing. Ecuador then, they're just occasionally being shaken out of their complacency by the Colombians, who either on the quick break or with that bullet free kick go in search of an away goal. Now, was that a hand? It wasn't. Well, perhaps the referee deciding that there was an unfair challenge coming in on the keeper. Well, Higuita's making a meal of it, of course. But certainly as the through ball came in, the linesman's flag stayed down for a second. Higuita, seeing the danger, was racing off his line. And it was Kuvi who's adjudged now to have fouled, in fact, outside the box before he could get a shot in. It's not a foul on the keeper. Higuita and Kuvi making contact. Higuita goes down as if on the receiving end of a Mike Tyson left hook. I suppose it would be tempting fate with some of the histrionics we've seen throughout these qualifiers to say that so far the game's been played in a very good spirit. And some of the cynicism we associate with encounters here on this continent has been pleasingly absent. And sure enough, Higuita's okay, and away we go once again. Foul, tapping in on the back of Higuaran's ankles. Higuaran and Hernandez have combined well in this first half. Free kick this time to Ecuador. Once again, waves of noise. You can probably hear them pour down from the stadium here in Guayaquil. The Ecuadorian fans really have kept up a cacophony of sound since the kickoff. Shot charged down. Once again, Colombia, look how square they are across the back four. They're pushing up for an offside, of course, but very, very dangerous tactic indeed. Well, they're going to leave themselves horribly exposed if Colombia, if in fact Ecuador can just find the combination to go through this very square at times looking defence. And surely a better side than Ecuador would have punished the Colombians for that in this first half. The 16 for Colombia is, of course, Higuaran. Forcing the corner. There's really danger every time he's on the ball. If anything, the Ecuadorians, who've looked composed and quite confident on the ball, building from the back, just lacking a little self-confidence when they get up to Colombia's penalty area. Colombia not in any hurry to take the corner. That resulting in a shower of missiles from the terracing. Ecuador comfortably dealing with the corner. They'll be well aware, of course, of Higuaran's presence and how, in fact, from the first game it was a corner which produced the first goal. Higuaran's two headers, one in each half. The difference between the two sides in Barranquilla last month. Just a lack of control there from Aguinaga. Score remains here in the first half in this Group 2 qualifier between perhaps the minnow in this group, Ecuador, and Colombia. Certainly most experts would feel this group is going to be decided between the Colombians and the Paraguayans. Colombians will still be smarting, of course, from that controversial 2-1 defeat in Asuncion last week, where they were just seconds away from taking a point. Iguaran's goal on 87 minutes, and they threw it all away, of course, by conceding the penalty in rather a hot-tempered fashion. And that, of course, is what happens in this continent now. Once again, a good break on the far side, and only the final ball letting Colombia down. That was good play, starting with Valderrama, stringing together 2 or 3 passes. They were looking for Iguaran in the box. And once again, they're back in numbers defending the goal away to our left, where Higuita has seen one header drifting harmlessly over the bar inside the first 5 minutes. Made an excellent save from Aguirre, which in fact then wouldn't have counted. Tipping one round the post just to show us and remind us what he can do. Now Colombia, there's some movement on. Well, there was movement up front there for them. Down the flanks they had options opening up for them, and they give the ball away. They can start again. Valderrama, once again, he's got space in midfield. That's a fine ball. Won't count. The ball's in the back of the net. Linesman flagging for an offside that really must have been very close. And Ecuadorian producer giving us no chance to review that one on the replay. And Colombia not protesting too much. And once again, it's a refreshing style of soccer we're seeing here in the Stadion Monumental de Barcelona. That's the leading side in Guayaquil. And the only thing really lacking so far in the first half has been a goal. Real goal-mouth action has been at a premium, but there's been plenty of good football from both sides in the middle of the park. And a free-flowing game we're seeing here. Full marks to the referee for keeping things going, but it's going to take more than that to produce a goal here. Higuita dribbling the ball, looking as if he wanted to bring it out of his box once again. Rolls the ball out to the near side before Escobar puts it out of touch. Out of play here on the near side. Colombia making progress, hoping to, with Valderrama. He's crowded out. Strong challenge, which the referee has decided is an unfair one. Well, it's the Colombian player who's come off worse, but clearly it's a two-footed tackle from the number 17, Fajardo, which leaves him requiring attention. And the bite a bit there, because it's a free kick to Ecuador. If we can get Senor Fajardo off the pitch. Holding the right ankle. And the referee decides we'll continue with the throw-in, leaving Fajardo to make a miraculous recovery down below us out of your picture on the near touchline. Cross now from the far side. The keeper, well, makes a bit of a mess of that. Under no pressure. Out of goal. Morales just getting a fingertip to it and tied it up for him. And Colombia, for once on the break, were caught light where it mattered, as Morales missed the cross. Perez has had a good first half. Now we've got an infringement away over to our right. There's a man down. I must admit I was following the action at the other end of the pitch. It's the number 16, is it? Yes, it's Iguaran. And from that last Colombian attack, I wonder, in fact, if it's an object from the crowd. You can see quite clearly that missiles of various sorts, much of it that would possibly grace greengrocer's stall, pouring down here on the unfortunate Iguaran. And he's been hit by something. Whether it was something a little stronger and harder than a piece of fruit, I must say we didn't see it from this position, but Iguaran is off the pitch, having some treatment away behind the goal of Morales. Drop ball then in midfield. Colombia patient in the build-up. They've certainly come here looking for a win, of course, after the blow of that 2-1 defeat against Paraguay, really throwing this group wide open. Ecuador on the far side, with the right winger, Rosero. He's forced his way into this Ecuador side, although in his mid-20s, and a newcomer to the Ecuadorian international stage. Throw in to the home team on the far side. That's Higuitas. And it would be interesting to see this goalkeeper put under pressure by a tall aerial striker from the European school, somebody perhaps of Jurgen Klinsmann's caliber springs to mind. Now Colombia breaking into the Ecuador box and crowded out once again before the cross could come in on the far side from Fallardo. Clearly Colombia have decided, they've done their homework, that if they're going to unlock this Ecuadorian defence, then the way to do it is to put pressure on the right back, Izquierdo. Because all their best moves in this half have been prompted by Fallardo and Iguaran down that far side. Now then, Ecuador with a shooting chance straight at the keeper, Higuita. Off his line, perfectly positioned to narrow the angle, and that really was the best shooting chance for Ecuador in this first half. Colombia had dealt with everything adequately up to then. They had a chance to clear their lines. Lost the ball inside their own penalty area. Higuita quickly off his line to narrow the angle. And the shot for Ecuador that was beaten away, coming in from Aviles, was it? Was indeed. National champions in Ecuador is a team called Emelec. And Aviles was their top scorer last season. And a golden opportunity goes begging for Ecuador to open the scoring here in the first half in Guayaquil. Well, whether Higuita took that ball in the face, he seemed to get the gloves to it, carried the ball away, but requiring a little treatment. Cross from the far side, now Higuita backpedaling, sees the ball safely behind for a goal kick. Well, that's to be expected, perhaps. A little time wasting from the Colombians. But full marks to the referee, very quick to have a word with the keeper to just get on with things. That's good defending by Izquierdo. Colombia, once again, to remind you, if you've just joined us, defending the goal away to our left in the first half. And this afternoon, playing in the change strip of red and blue, because Ecuador also favour the gold, which is Colombia's first team, choice colour as well for their kit. So if you have just joined us, the score here in Guayaquil in this Group 2 qualifier is Ecuador 0, Colombia 0, and it's Colombia in the gold and blue building on the near side with the midfielder Aguinaga. It's the battle of the two midfield maestros in the first half, and Aguinaga for Ecuador, and of course the blonde head for Colombia of Valderrama. Neither has yet been able to produce a really telling chance for either sets of forwards. But perhaps a reflection of the first game in Barranquilla is that neither of these sides has come out to pursue any personal vendetta or to keep some kind of war going. And although the Ecuadorian players making a meal of that challenge, it really wasn't vicious, a little over vigorous perhaps. And sure enough, there's nothing wrong with the Ecuadorian skipper. And the game, by South American standards, being played in a good spirit. That's a great ball into the near post. Well, now, why did he hesitate there for just a second? Colombia closing down quickly after the cross had dropped inside the Colombian box for Cuvi, and caught in two minds. He thought about the shot, wanted to lay it off, has to settle for a corner, and that corner cleared at the near post. Cuvi looks to get a second chance. Colombia taking a hell of a time to clear their lines. This time they have, and patiently building once again down the left. On the burst, that one surely will be behind for a goal kick. It is. This time Fajardo unable to keep it in. Morales gets it underway. Once again, Ecuador keen to get on with things, approaching half-time here. Ecuador perhaps have enjoyed the lion's share of the possession. Their coach, Dusan Draskovic, the Yugoslav, can be quite happy with some of the things he's seen. But I'm sure his half-time talk will be just for a little more decision where it matters most, in the final third of the field. The final decisive ball just rather missing at the moment. Here once again the Ecuadorians playing it around amongst themselves. And there we had a perfect example of the final delivery, playing straight into the hands of this Colombian back four, bigger than their counterparts from Ecuador. Certainly Colombia have the physical strength where it matters at the back. Escobar and Perea, Wilson Perez and Hoyos, the fullbacks, have done a good job in the first half, but Ecuador, unless they're looking for Aguinaga, really seem to have little idea when it comes to the Colombian penalty area. And that is in fact the final action of the first half here in Guayaquil in Group 2 at half-time. It's Ecuador 0, Colombia 0, and we'll hope for better things in the second half. World Cup action continues as we welcome you back to the stadium here in Guayaquil at the start of the second half. And the home fans here in the Monumental de Barcelona, to give us the official title of the stadium here, Barcelona of Ecuador, one of the leading club sides here in the country. Well, the talking point of the first half was, can Ecuador really turn their pressure into goals here in the second? They certainly had more of the play than Colombia. Colombia perhaps just having a little bit of finesse and polish where it mattered most, with the few chances they created on the break, looking perhaps of the two sides the more likely to score. And in the first half, Higuita, perhaps the busier of the two goalkeepers, but really only called upon to make one close-range parrying save, and also tipping a great effort round the post from Aviles, which then was in fact ruled offside. So the scoreline here at the start of the second, as evening falls over the Ecuadorian city here of Guayaquil, and it's blessedly cool after the heat we had earlier in the day. 0-0, and Ecuador have to somehow find a way past this rugged Colombian defence in the second half. Colombia, of course, in the change strip of red shirts and blue shorts, and they're playing in the second half from right to left. They have an early free kick then, about 30 yards out from Morales' goal. Morales, who had really little to show us in the first half, just what a fine keeper he is, perhaps the best Ecuador have produced in their soccer history. Now, Colombia from the free kick. Gomez standing over it. A little touch, the drive, and the keeper unable to hold the ball. That one came in like a bullet. And right at the start of the second half, Colombia, well, that kept the keeper on his toes. And just as well that Morales had warmed up for the second half. He was out before the other players, in fact. And just getting a feel of the ball from one of the Ecuadorian substitutes. And unable to hold the bullet-like shot from the free kick. And Colombia here on the break as they steal the ball. Now then, the player goes tumbling, rolling into the penalty area. Well, the South Americans always give it an extravagant dive, but it's not a free kick. It's not a penalty, rather. A free kick it is. The foul clearly outside the penalty area. And need I tell you who the Colombian player it was, stealing the ball like a thief, 35 yards from goal and in on Morales. Like a flash it was, of course, Higuaran. The thorn very much in Ecuador's side. 2-goal hero from the first game between these two sides in Barranquilla. And Higuaran on the score sheet against Paraguay. And that means, quite simply, that the 3 goals that Colombia have scored so far in Group 2 have all come from the Colombian number 16. The free kick blasted high wide and really not very handsome at all. Away beyond the post of Morales, behind for a goal kick, as many of the fans still regain their seats after the half-time break. Higuaran, perhaps the one player from the two sides who showed some flashes of inspiration in the first half, and the local militia just making sure that we have a ball to play with in the second half. I once saw a game in Costa Rica, incidentally, where it was obviously a local pastime of the fans to keep the ball as a souvenir of the afternoon, and I think we went through about 13 balls in the course of 90 minutes. Every time one disappeared into the terracing, there was a mass fight amongst 50 Costa Ricans to take the prize souvenir home. And obviously the Ecuadorians are wise to that stunt. And you don't argue with a gentleman in uniform with a rifle. So although we didn't see any goals in the first 45 minutes, one has to say that this was a game thankfully free of vendetta. And both sides really have come to play football. The referee has played his part, but we haven't seen any of the cynical scything tackles that we've seen in some of the other qualifying games here in South America. And let's hope that it continues through the second half. And just to put some icing on the cake, perhaps a goal or two would be nice as well. To remind you then that in this Group 2 qualifier, Ecuador in their second game, the return against Colombia. They still, of course, have the Paraguayans to face. They're at the bottom of the table at the moment, without a point. They're on their way to recording one here, but they'd really like it to be two. No power in the shot, snapshot coming in at the start of the second half, and first touch for Higuita. Good defending at the back. That's the tall Perea. Colombia playing the two tall stoppers in the centre of defence, Escobar and Perea, who've been far too good for anything the Ecuadorian forwards could conjure up in the first half. And this man too has impressed me, the sweeper at the back for Ecuador, the last man in defence, Quiñones. Linesman's flagging for offside. And I wonder how long Higuita will be prepared to play on under that barrage of streamers and paper there now, as you can see, lying in his own goal area. Well, I'm sure he's finding that distracting, and I wonder if the referee will have that playing surface cleared. Quiñones, the tall, dark defender at the back for Ecuador. Oh my goodness me, the keeper's in trouble here, he's lost it. And wide of the post with the goal, absolutely begging. Colombia can't believe it, neither can the player. Higuaran, would you believe it, the man who can hardly miss, who scored goals in every competition he's ever played for Colombia, their leading scorer in the Copa America this season. And look at that, he rolls it a foot wide of the post, with a defender absolutely nowhere, the keeper not in sight after Morales had come and lost it. His problems really caused by the through ball not quite coming with the pace he expected for him to grab. Caught in two minds on the edge of his own penalty area. Higuaran then taking it away from the Ecuadorian keeper and then managing to miss the target. Have a look at it again here. Too casual with the left foot. And what a let-off for Ecuador at the start of the second half. Higuaran couldn't believe it, and neither could the Colombian bench. And once again poked through the middle. This time he's offside. Higuaran, he'll never get a better chance to open the scoring in this game. Well, it was the Colombian defence who I thought at times in the first half would be prone to the through ball. And Colombia very nearly in again. Foul, is it, on the keeper? Higuaran. An early opportunity to atone for his really quite dreadful miss. And in fact it's a collision between keeper and defender. Keeper's up. And I should think you would have a lump or two after you'd clashed with Quiñones. That's him, the number 3. Ecuador then have the free kick. Lucky to still be at 0-0 here, with Colombia having spurned a golden opportunity at the start of the second half to go ahead in Guayaquil. And although the mariachis and the assorted bands, we seem to have, well, there's a plethora of musicians here on the terracing around us. Drums, bugles, it's all happening. But they surely would have been silenced if Higuaran had rolled that ball into the empty net. A far more purposeful look to Colombia in the second half. Now then, Valderrama is beginning to probe and prompt his forwards. They're finding a way through this Ecuadorian defence. We really didn't see enough pressure from the Colombian front men in the first half. All the play condensed into a 30-yard strip either side of the halfway line. And now a much better start to the second half here. Ecuador making progress this time on the left flank, where we saw so much good stuff coming through from that side of the field from Colombia in the first half. Here's Quiñones keeping the pressure on. The Colombians pegged back, they've got 10 men, now 11 inside their own half. The crowd roar, they sense that something could be on here for Colombia, for Ecuador rather, as the shot comes in, the second phase, wide and high. Higuita is out, and the crowd hoping they might have had a penalty out of that. The player himself didn't seem to be appealing for it, just took a deflection off Perea, which embarrassed the Colombian defence. Higuita out quickly at the feet of Rosero, and the follow-up shot from Aviles high into the terracing behind the goal of Colombia. So there we have it, chance at each half, and the second really has come to the boil. And once again the passion rolls down the terracing here. We've got a real volcano of noise. The Ecuadorians sense that their team could just cause the upset here. They still talk here in Guayaquil of the last time these two sides met here 2 years ago. It was one of the most famous days in Ecuadorian soccer history when they beat Colombia themselves, having a fine run at the time in '87. Ecuador winning on the day 3-0, and how Ecuador would love to repeat that result here today. To send Dusan Draskovic into the vital game against Paraguay with a win under his belt. There's certainly a newfound sense of optimism here in the country, which has found little success in the past, of course, living in the shadow as they do of such illustrious neighbours as Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay. But they certainly have one or two players now coming through their squad who can rank with the best in South America. Most notably Aguinaga. We hear he's off to the Mexican First Division once these qualifying games are over, as indeed is the keeper Morales. Many, of course, of the Colombians already earning their livelihood away from the country, most notably Valderrama, who plays, as we said earlier, in France. And I felt in the first half Colombia sadly missing the experience of Redin in midfield, and Valderrama forced to drop deep, and Higuaín very much the Lone Raider up front. But the second half has seen an increase in tempo. The crowd once again finding voice here in Guayaquil, and a goal for either side, I feel, would really bring this game to life. Colombia sensing perhaps in this second half that an earlier ball played through the crowded midfield will catch this Ecuadorian defence flat-footed. They have looked a little slow on the turn, taking the major share of possession in the first half, where the defence really wasn't tested, and they do look susceptible on the break. And it's Valderrama here proving the point as he makes 50 yards with the ball at his feet. A square ball to the far side, which really should have been better. Instinctively he knows that Higuaín will have pulled wide of his marker, but that wasn't a good ball into the path of the Colombian striker. However, they do have a free kick, and it was a free kick indeed, which brought them the second goal in the first meeting between these two sides. Higuaín once again will be the target man. Not the tallest player in the Colombian side, but they brought Pereira up from the back. Now, will it be hoisted into the Ecuadorian box, or will they go for the blast? Easy for the keeper. Carlos Morales throws the ball out in a style reminiscent of Bruce Grobbelaar. Tricky play, that'll be a foul. Well, ill-timed challenge really, without any great venom, I think, from Gomez. Himself only in because Alvarez is suspended. But he was beaten by the Ecuadorian skill there really, rather than any venom on his part. Aguinaga it was, who gets to his feet. And away we go, Ecuador with the free kick. Powerful and good defensive header from the Colombian back line. Now they're rushing out, trying to catch Ecuador offside. The Ecuadorian forwards, they've always just got a couple of men really down the middle, but they need to find a few extra bodies if they're to really force an error from this Colombian defence and turn the game to their advantage. Colombia comfortable at the back as they've been for much of the game. That's a good ball in play. Valderrama keeps the momentum going. Here he is again. Higuaran this time pulling to the near side. And dusk falling, of course, like a curtain so quickly here in Ecuador, close as we are to the equator. With the floodlights on now in the second half as night falls over the Ecuadorian city. And not for the first time, Higuita is the kind of keeper who I'm sure would cause a few grey hairs for some European managers with his predilection for racing from goal. Now a yellow card being shown for a late challenge. And it's against Aguinaga. Well, that seemed a little harsh because certainly wasn't the first foul we've seen in the game by any stretch of the imagination, but it also wasn't the worst. That's the first yellow card then in the second half, and it goes to the Ecuadorian number 8, Aguinaga. The second, of course, will see him suspended from any future games, and he's a player, perhaps one of the few Ecuadorians with real class they can ill afford to lose. Good defending at the back by Escobar. Crucial interception from the Colombian number 3. Now Colombia breaking on the far side, 2 against 3 into the side netting. And as you can see with the substitute warming up behind you, the Ecuadorian crowd rise to their feet in anxiety and happy to see that one just skid past the post. The wrong side of the post as far as Colombia is concerned. End-to-end stuff now. This is refreshing from the two South American sides. I'm just wondering how much longer Higuita can play under that mountain of paper. And there it is, with the right foot rifled in after Ecuador had given the ball away, and my goodness me, only inches away there from the opening goal for Colombia, and the shot was from Fajardo. On the break this time, Ecuador farthest man forward for them was Quintero. And you sense that the crowd are really warming to this game. From two of the lesser lights in South America, we're seeing a good, even contest here, a fine exhibition of football. which in South American terms at times has really managed to flow. There's been a very, very encouraging absence of niggle and gamesmanship. And the game is being played very much at a European tempo. Ecuador themselves warming up a substitute. Valderrama with the ambition to take his man on, has to settle for a throw-in on the halfway line then. Colombia perhaps they should have been a goal ahead in the second half. Deadlier finishing from Higuaín, certainly a man we expect better things of than that really quite dreadful miss at the start of the second. And here he is again in a similar position. Now there's a man square and free, but the ball is delayed and it's too far ahead for Colombia to make anything of it. And it's 3 times now in the second half that on the break they've almost left Ecuador for dead. And Higuaín it is, at 32 years of age, who's shown the Ecuadorian defenders at times a clean pair of heels. And he's down on the edge of the penalty area following that last break. In fact, it's Hernandez. Now then, that was casual by Perea. My goodness me, Colombia really victims of their own carelessness there in giving the ball away. Perea allowing the ball to go behind him. And it's almost becoming partial with that debris in the penalty area of Higuita. The Colombian keeper showing no inclination to clear things away, but he's been bombarded, as you can see, at half-time. By what almost looks like a snowdrift of paper streamers. Well, I know I'd find it very distracting to try and play through that, but Higuita obviously doesn't seem to mind. And I suppose that's par for the course here in the South American stadia. And let's be thankful that it's nothing worse at the moment than a stream of paper. Hernandez is back in the action then. A good start to the second half here in Guayaquil, where we've been very close to a goal. Colombia surely should have had one when Higuaín rolled wide of the post. Here he is again, calling for the ball on the far side, but Hernandez failing to deliver. And Colombia have a substitute warming up. It's the number 15. But we don't have the team sheet listing the Colombian substitutes at the moment. We'll get that for you. So, with an hour gone, and the deadlock yet to be broken here in the stadium of Barcelona, Colombia making the first substitute of the game. Draskovic is out of the dugout, and until we get a flash from the stadium announcer, at the moment all we can tell you is that the Colombian number 15 is the substitute. And if our Ecuadorian substitute, I apologise, the number 15, and if our producer gives us a caption, then we'll be able to tell you who he is. crowd will tell you once again that the referee is bringing the play back, and of course, much to the crowd's disgust, it's a free kick against Ecuador. The crowd don't like it, but we didn't get a good view of that from our position. The referee's had a good game, however. It's been one of those games, thankfully, here in South America, which has not been too difficult so far to control. And it must be some kind of record in these qualifiers that we've just seen the one yellow card after an hour. The score remains, however, Ecuador 0, Colombia 0. Colombia, don't forget, having played one game more, they head the table. Ecuador looking for their first points of the competition. Now then, it's Colombia on the break, onside, here they come, surely this must be the opening goal. The keeper, well, the player was slightly hindered, he played on, didn't appeal for the penalty. Now the referee's deciding that he is going to call the play back. It's off the line, the chance has gone. The referee has decided he's giving, I believe, a corner. I wonder if the player might have been better served if he'd gone down. Here it is, see it again. Played through for Hernandez. Round the keeper, could have taken a dive there, decided to play on against the body of the sliding Quiñones, who saves his side there with a great interception. Well, that would have been number one. This time the shot was on target. Hernandez, wondering perhaps, had he gone to ground, would it have been a penalty? Surely the referee would have had no option but to have awarded a spot kick. And Ecuador really are now living dangerously. Hernandez it was, the 23-year-old, providing the cross from which Iguaran scored Colombia's goal against Paraguay. He's in the side today, in the starting lineup. Did enough in that Paraguay game to earn his berth. Here on the left wing, shot just over the bar. No contact from the keeper. And that one shaving the Ecuadorian crossbar. Now Ecuador really are beginning to come under some pressure. Valderrama sets it up there. Taken down by the number 16, Iguaran, was it? Yes, it was. On his favourite left foot, just too high. Going back a couple of minutes there, Colombia on the break with Hernandez. Round the keeper, Morales. Well, he thought about taking the player out. Hernandez decided to carry on. Didn't go for the penalty, got the shot in. Quiñones gets his body in the way, and he saves his side from going behind. And now Colombia are beginning to stamp their authority on this game in the second half. Superior class, beginning to tell Ecuador, the defence which wasn't pressured in the first half. They were allowed to play their way out of trouble, but they've shown the susceptibility that they have for being caught on the break, and a little more penetration from Colombia was what we were talking about at half-time. That's what we've seen in the second half. And Colombia only themselves to blame for not being ahead here in Guayaquil. The home fans, however, trying to encourage their side to find that little bit extra. Colombia looking comfortable as we head to the halfway mark in the second half, and the score remains 0-0. The Colombians really will only have themselves to blame if they're going to fail to get the result here in Ecuador that they so desperately needed, after they thought they'd stolen a point last week in Paraguay, only to throw it away at the end, and they needlessly conceded the penalty. All the gilt-edged chances being created in the second half by Colombia, showing more purpose, more direction, playing the ball through the midfield quicker, catching Ecuador on the break. And Ecuadorian defence has rocked in this second half, and has been very lucky indeed not to concede a goal or two. Now Ecuador themselves lining up the shot. Oh, there was nobody who was wide on the right. Ecuador do have a tendency to find themselves sucked into the middle. Now I didn't see any contact there. Is Higuita making a meal of things? And that's the first little spark of gamesmanship we've seen. The referee quite sensibly having none of it. And on we go. The linesman flagging. Well, Ecuador now are desperate to change the flow of this game because it is beginning to go away from them. A second substitute coming in. With just under 25 minutes remaining, the number 16 into the action. And I'm afraid still not being provided with any information either from the scoreboard here in the stadium or from our local director as to tell us just who the Ecuadorian substitutes are. They've used 2. Colombia haven't used any. And the home fans now just beginning to get a wee bit restless as Ecuador come under the cosh in this second half. A second defeat here would surely put them out of the reckoning in Group 2. They started as underdogs in a 3-team group which saw Paraguay and Colombia as the favoured sides to slug it out between them before the winners of this group go on to face Israel in a playoff for a place in Italy next summer. Well, it's an absorbing second half here in Guayaquil, and certainly exploding into life right at the beginning of the second half when Higuaín robbed the keeper and wastefully rolled the ball wide of an empty goal. And then just 5 minutes ago, Hernandez, as Colombia broke once again quickly from midfield, wondering why he didn't go a-tumbling to claim the penalty that surely would have been given. As the keeper made contact, and Quiñones, the saviour of his country, getting in the way of the effort from Hernandez. That would have opened the scoring here, and indeed another shot we remember on the right flank, which was just the wrong side of the post. So Colombia could have had 3 in this second half. Valderrama hardly seems to have broken sweat in this game. They call him the Platini of Colombia. Certainly in Montpellier, where the French know a thing or two about the strolling midfield maestro who was the inspiration behind the French win in the '84 European Cup, the European Championships. And perhaps that's where that comparison has sprung from. It's also, of course, called the blonde hullet for the extravagant hairstyle. The Colombian number 12 there is directing operations there. Does his side shape up for this free kick about 5 yards outside the Ecuadorian penalty area? 4-man wall. It's solid. Second shot coming in behind for a goal kick. And that effort is greeted with derision from the home fans. Who continue their musical accompaniment, of course, to this game. And they've never been less than 100% in their vociferous support of the home side. But as we said earlier in the programme, the Ecuadorians are really building a side for the future. And it'll be a bonus for them if they're to make progress in this World Cup qualifying tournament. Now Ecuador stealing the ball in a good position. The play halted for a free kick on the far side. The foul against the number 3, was it? Escobar. Well, it's given to Colombia. I found that surprising. So did the home fans. The local fans here realising that their team have perhaps led a charmed life in the second half, but that doesn't matter because the scoreline remains 0-0. And as we enter the final dramatic phase of this game, one goal perhaps will be enough to clinch it. We might get it here. Valderrama teeing it up. That wasn't a good cross. Had plenty of time, the Colombian generalissimo in midfield. Ecuador, they've looked pretty in stages. They can find their men 3 or 4 good passes in the middle of the field, but what they really lack is the vision to play the early ball out of defence. It's the speed of the early ball which has unlocked the Ecuadorian defence in the second half. Second yellow card in the game against the Colombian number 17, Fajardo. So that's one apiece. And the penetration has come from the Colombian quick thinking in playing the ball on the break through the middle past a rather leaden-footed Ecuadorian back four, and that's what Ecuador lack. The speed of thought and the incisiveness to play the early ball, which will embarrass the Colombian defence. They haven't been embarrassed so far in this game. And it's Colombia once again carrying the ball forward with Valderrama. He's halted on the edge of the penalty area. Colombia still in possession. Now they've lost it. One or two players waiting for a whistle. Eventually it comes in. A free kick to Ecuador. Play just a little bit scrappy there. Now Ecuador flooding forward, the gold and blue. Looking for this goal, which would set them up and send the crowd wild here in Guayaquil. Now Colombia producing their first substitution of the game. And it's an interesting one because Fajardo, the player who's just been booked, he has a habit of being hot-tempered. And it's the right-sided midfielder coming off and a defender coming on, the number 7. And once again we await the caption to tell us just who the number 7 is, but it looks to me very much as if Colombia, as they race out from this free kick to catch Ecuador offside, are beginning to settle for a point here inside the final 20 minutes. And it's a defender on for a midfield man. Is their wily old coach, Pancho Maturana. Settling for a point, I wonder, here. His tactic, of course, would be a point here, would be perhaps a point gained, leaving Ecuador to face Paraguay twice. If his troops could pull off a win against Paraguay in the return, having lost the first, then they'll hope, of course, for Ecuador to nick something off Paraguay to leave Colombia at the top of Group 2. But it's all very tight, of course, and anything could still happen in this group. The game then here in Guayaquil is up for grabs. Ecuador 0, Colombia 0. Colombia with the chances to be ahead in the second half, but Colombia, having spurned 3 golden opportunities, still find themselves peg-backed by what's never been more than a workmanlike and plucky Ecuadorian side. Now the punch from Higuita. Second shot coming in, Higuita's off his line and wide of the post. All stemming really from a bad punch when the keeper may have caught it. He wasn't under any any real direct pressure on the keeper. And that is his Achilles heel. The Colombian keeper who likes to take penalties. We've already seen in this game how he enjoys racing out of his penalty area to dribble the ball. But unorthodox it may be, but it's also his undoing at times, as it very nearly was then. Way offside, the Colombian number 7, who's just come on. Plenty of activity now from both benches, with substitutes warming up, coming into the action, as both managers, or coaches as we should call them in South America, that's the term they use, looking for the joker perhaps in the pack that will break the deadlock here. And as the seconds tick by, the crowd get more restless. The referee finding that things just a little more tricky to control, and a free kick comes in, this time Ecuador with their number 5. That's Fajardo. Slightly less complicated now. The Colombian Fajardo has departed the action, so we've just got one Fajardo on the pitch, and that'll be another free kick. Will it? Well, rather surprisingly not given. Once again, the Ecuadorians letting the man in black know what they thought of that decision. Easy for Higuita. That's the scoreline here in this Group 2 qualifier. Perea, the header, and that shooting chance comes in for Ecuador, and the home crowd angry with the wasted opportunity. Chances really at this standard are few and far between. These two sides evenly matched, and when the chance presents itself, they really do have to be on target. And it was a shame that Perea, who's had such a fine game, found his header just breaking for the Ecuadorian forward, who was Aguinaga, of course. Who else? Aguinaga and Aviles, the two players who were on the end of everything Ecuador have created today. And the snapshot from just inside the box, wide, and Higuita not called upon to make a save. Ecuador's first real shooting opportunity then of the second half. Well, on the reflection of the second half play we've seen, it would have been a travesty perhaps to Colombia had they gone behind. But Ecuador, of course, have minded that, stealing a goal, and that really would have set things alight here in the stadium. Aguinaga and Aviles have been quiet in this second half. Escobar and Perea, the two tall Colombian central defenders, have kept a tight rein on the two Ecuadorian front men. Substitute just trying to catch the keeper unawares with a little dink to the near post. And the referee wants the ball. And in fact, well, he's early by my watch, but there it is, the final score, and one or two of the spectators, in fact more than one or two here in the stadium, also feel that we haven't had the full 90 minutes. However, there it is. The final score in Guayaquil. It's goalless, it's a point apiece, and the home fans unhappy as indeed are the Ecuadorian players that the referee seems to have whistled up early. The linesman also seem rather mystified. However, there you have it. There are no complaints coming in from the side in red. They're happy with the final score. It's Ecuador 0, Colombia 0 here in Guayaquil. That's the standings in Group 2 following that result. The first goalless scoreline we've had in these games. And Colombia play 3, points 3. Take a point away from Guayaquil in a game that on balance perhaps with the chances they created in the second half, they really should have won. The home fans unhappy as the referee is escorted from the pitch by the local militia, but it certainly seems the referee ending the game early. However, the final score stands. It's Ecuador 0, Colombia 0. Ecuador unable to repeat their success here in the same stadium 2 years ago when they won 3-0, and things looking tough for Ecuador at the bottom of Group 2. But a point for Colombia, which leaves things finely balanced at the top of the table and looking increasingly as if the Colombia-Paraguay game will be the showdown in this group. Scenes of controversy then marring once again the end of our South American soccer here from the stadium in Guayaquil. Join us again soon on the World Cup qualifying trail, but for now, bye-bye.